Headlines of VTV News. Vietnam's thriving business environment attracts foreign investors. Vietnam's human rights record held at UN review. And later on in our world news, US pauses Israel weapons shipment.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, this is VTV News coming live to you from Hanoi. You're with me, Lina Pham, and here's the top news of the hour. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính, also chairman of the Coordinating Council for the Red River Delta region, chaired the council's third meeting in Hanoi on May the 9th. The planning for the Red River Delta region for the 2021 to 2030 period with a vision to 2050 was approved by the Prime Minister on May the 4th and highlights 6 core strategic viewpoints. According to the plan, the region is of extreme significance and serves as a primary driver of growth, guiding the reform of the economic structure and growth model. The government leaders stated that the plan outlines 5 major tasks and breakthroughs. These are promoting the development of the infrastructure system with regional and international connections, accelerating innovation and the application of science and technology, preserving, utilizing, and promoting the cultural values of the Red River civilization, accelerating urbanization, and finalizing mechanisms and policies for regional development and regional linkages. The world trade economy is significantly impacted by global volatility. In this context, the free trade agreements that Vietnam has recently signed are demonstrating their effectiveness and emerging as strong drivers for trade cooperation between Vietnam and key markets. Particularly, trade and investment relations between Vietnam and the UK have witnessed brisk growth in recent times.
This UK business specialises in handcrafting mobile phones with market-leading technology. The brand has gained a reputation in Europe and is gradually expanding its foothold in Asian markets. Among these, Hanoi was chosen by the business as its first destination in Southeast Asia and the second destination in Asia after Dubai.
Vietnam has got one of the highest growing GDPs in Southeast Asia, and you can see just looking around us here, while we picked this location, we have these apartments are $4.5 million each. I checked yesterday. Our friends here, Bulgari, Rolex.
A young demographic and a rising middle and upper class are the factors that make the Vietnamese market attractive to foreign investors. In addition, the Vietnam-UK Free Trade Agreement will help Vietnam save up to £114 million in export taxes to the UK, while the UK will save £36 million in export taxes to Vietnam. These incentives helped bilateral trade reach nearly $8 billion last year, marking a threefold increase compared to that of 2010, when the two countries established a strategic partnership.
The business and trade relationship between Vietnam and the UK is really, really strong. So we have multiple free trade agreements with Vietnam. We've got the UK-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, and we've recently acceded to the CPTPP, and there's a great trade and economic relationship between the UK and Vietnam. It's roughly £6 billion, and it's growing, and it's grown rapidly in the last few years.
The service industry accounts for more than 70% of the UK's GDP. The two countries are expected to further capitalise on the benefits of the UK VFTA agreement. With the UK's official participation in the CPTPP, bilateral trade could double by 2030.
According to the Vietnam Food Association, Vietnam's rice export businesses have consecutively secured several large bidding packages. For instance, at the end of last month, the Indonesian National Logistics Agency purchased 109,000 tons of rice from Vietnam at prices ranging from $588 to $590 per ton. The Korea Agro Fisheries Trade Corporation imported 900 tons of long-grain rice originating from Vietnam. As reported by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Vietnam can export about 4.5 million tons of rice in the first half of 2024. Located in the central region, Phie province boasts expansive rice-growing areas yielding roughly 26,000 hectares after each crop cycle. During this winter-spring season, farmers experienced a bountiful harvest with an average rice output of 75 quintals per hectare. In addition, rice prices have risen compared to last year's winter-spring crop. The current market presents favorable conditions for the rice growers, with traders increasing their purchasing activities.
Rice prices in Phie have sharply increased right at the beginning of the winter-spring crop. Notably, traders are intensifying their collection of rice from farmers.
This year, the traders are purchasing rice directly from the fields. Rice prices have exceeded 36 cents per kilogram, which has made farmers very excited.
Businesses and traders have gathered to purchase a significant amount of rice. That's why rice prices have reached a high level and remain stable.
The rice output harvested by Phie farmers in this year's winter-spring crop on a 26,000-hectare area reached approximately 187,500 tons. Normally, farmers would attempt to sell their rice extensively. However, this year, farmers have moderated their rice sales. According to many cooperatives and traders in Phie province, although rice prices have been raised by traders to a higher level than that of last year's crop, farmers have only sold about 40% of this crop's output.
Due to the heat wave, farmers are storing rice in their warehouses to wait for more profitable prices.
Currently, people in Phie province are still stockpiling 130,000 tons. Despite high prices, farmers continue to stockpile rice, waiting for prices to peak or until summer-autumn crop season to sell in order to cover production costs at the beginning of the season.
To establish a sufficient legal basis for recognizing low-emission rice products, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is coordinating with units and localities in the Mekong Delta to deploy 5 pilot models on at least 250 hectares dedicated to high-quality, low-emission rice cultivation. These models must operate continuously across 3 seasons: summer, autumn, autumn-winter 2024, and winter-spring 2025 to 2026. In addition to technical support, farmers participating in the pilot model of the 1 million hectare high-quality rice project will receive support for all materials and infrastructure. The 5 selected models are located in 5 areas with varying climate and soil conditions. The International Rice Research Institute, or IRI, is also committed to supporting high-quality, low-emission rice farming techniques. They will provide machine sowing services up to 50 hectares per model, 50% support for certified seed costs, with the remainder supported locally, automatic water level measuring devices, and measurements of agronomic and soil indicators to calculate economic efficiency. The northwest region of Vietnam is set to become the country's agricultural export hub. According to the Project on the Sustainable Development of Fruit Trees in Northwest Provinces, by 2030, 40 to 50% of fruit cultivation areas will use advanced and organic production processes, while 30 to 40% of the area will achieve a planting area code for export. Standardizing raw materials areas is necessary to attract processing enterprises. This is our report from Sơn La Province.
In addition to adhering to VTGAP and Global Gap, many farmers have started to cover mangoes with bags 1 to 2 months before harvest. As a result, Type 1 mangoes now account for 70% of the crop. Local farmers also adapt their fruit bagging methods to suit different markets. White bags are used for the Chinese market, which prefers dark green mangoes, and 2-layer paper bags are used for yellow mangoes, destined for the American market.
The application of technology in production enhances the value chain year by year. Local farmers have recognized the benefits and applied it very effectively.
Mango trees are a typical example of the fruit tree development project on sloping hills in Sơn La. This type of tree generates a higher income than previously grown corn and cassava. 1 hectare of mangoes can yield up to $4,700.
Sơn La focuses on developing fruit cultivation over a current area of 8 hectares. The province is putting effort into enhancing areas of high quality, high value fruits. Apart from supplying fresh fruits to the domestic market and foreign export, a large amount of fruit is being processed. Therefore, it is necessary to develop specialized farming and establish chain links between cooperative, farmers and processing factories. The mindset of farmers in production has changed over the past 1 to 2 years. They have worked to improve product quality with specific targeted output markets in mind. Consequently, these products are expected to meet the demands of more discerning markets.
China continues to be the primary market for fruit cultivation in the northern provinces. However, its new requirements for traceability present challenges for these growing regions. As such, enhancing value chains with the participation of processing enterprises will help the northern fruit region overcome this challenge.
And up next, let's take a look how the Vietnam đồng is weighed against other currencies in the world market today. Coming up next, forest fire preventive measures intensified in hot season. And Haiphong to hold a red flamboyant flower festival. The groundwater level in the Central Highlands has significantly decreased, plunging by more than 2.3 meters in some localities. According to the National Center for Water Resources Planning and Investigation, in the past 6 months, nearly half of the groundwater level monitoring system has shown results lower than the same period last year and the average of many previous years. The areas experiencing the sharpest decrease are Krông Bắc, Chư Quynh in Đắk Lắk Province and Lâm Hà District, Bảo Lộc City in Lâm Đồng Province. Many factors contribute to the lowering of the groundwater level, including a dwindling of precipitation levels due to El Nino, shrinking coverage of forest and vegetation, and overexploitation of groundwater for agricultural production. The recent prolonged heat in the central region is increasing the risk of wildfires. Many forests in mountainous districts in Quảng Ngãi province are at the highest level of forest fire warning. Currently, many measures are underway to prevent and warn against forest fires. In particular, local authorities are stepping up efforts to advise residents to minimize the use of fire in the forest during this period.
Distributing leaflets to local households to raise awareness about forest fire prevention is a task diligently being undertaken by the Ba Tơ District Forest Ranger Department. This grassroots communication campaign has helped ethnic people better understand the importance of forest fire prevention.
It would be difficult for people to handle wildfires. Therefore, they now have a greater awareness of these issues. The locals also listen closely to the forest rangers' instructions to prevent forest fires.
In order to mitigate fire usage in the forest, people are mandated to ensure a safe burn area and choose the appropriate time to start burning to avoid wildfires.
People are advised to burn fuels in the afternoon when the wind is light, from 4:30 to 8 p.m., since forest fires can lead to casualty and loss of property. Individuals should remain on high alert.
We send warning messages via Zalo to forest protection management groups, notifying locals of daily fire levels and fire risk points to facilitate timely response scenarios.
Quảng Ngãi boasts a 334,000-hectare forest area, including more than 100,000 hectares of natural forests.
A Vietnamese delegation led by Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Đỗ Hùng Việt attended a dialogue on Vietnam's national report under the United Nations Human Rights Council's fourth cycle of the Universal Periodic Review Mechanism in Geneva on May the 7th. Vietnam's efforts and achievements in promoting and protecting human rights are undeniable, as the national report demonstrates bright prospects for the human rights situation in the country through unequivocal figures.
The event garnered high interest with more than 130 participating countries. They congratulated Vietnam on its 70th anniversary of the Dien Bien Phu victory and acknowledged Vietnam's policies and achievements in promoting and protecting human rights.
Today, we would like to congratulate Vietnam on the 70th anniversary of the Dien Bien Phu victory. We highly appreciate Vietnam's achievements in building socialism, improving citizens' living standards and protecting human rights.
China highly appreciates Vietnam's National Master Plan for 2021 to 2030. The plan prioritizes the building of the socialist rule of law state, the improvement of citizens' living standards, increased cooperation with international human rights mechanisms and organizations, and human rights achievements.
We laud Vietnam's determined efforts and progress in meeting the SDGs that led to significant improvements in the quality of life of its people, particularly in terms of access to education, health, and other basic social services.
While human rights values are universal, diversity and particularities should also be respected, and that there is no single model applicable to all countries. Vietnam had no purpose other than to ensure that all Vietnamese could fully enjoy all human rights.
Vietnam's human rights record and its efforts were recognized by 133 participating countries. All countries have their own unique cultures and traditions, so each nation has its own human rights-based approach.
Vietnam received around 300 recommendations from the United Nations Human Rights Council, covering a wide range of human rights issues. The working group on the Universal Periodic Review is scheduled to adopt the recommendations made to Vietnam on Friday.
Starting July the 1st, iris biometrics will be collected at police stations along with fingerprints and photos when citizens carry out procedures to request an identification card. Collecting iris biometrics serves as a means of verifying and authenticating individuals' information. This is particularly beneficial in cases where obtaining fingerprints is challenging due to a disability or deformed prints. Iris data boasts a high accuracy and aligns with the ongoing global and local trend of digital transformation, especially as electronic transactions continue to expand in Vietnam and worldwide. For the first time, Cần Thơ Central General Hospital in the Mekong Delta has successfully performed a kidney transplant. This marks a significant milestone in applying organ transplant techniques to treat diseases in the region. The patient who received the kidney has recovered and is being monitored in the intensive care unit. The 34-year-old male patient from Bến Tre province was diagnosed with end-stage chronic kidney failure. He voluntarily registered for a kidney transplant. After extensive preparation, at the end of April, a team of doctors from Chợ Rẫy Hospital and Cần Thơ Central General Hospital performed a kidney transplant on the patient. After 2 weeks, the patient's health has stabilized and his kidney function has almost returned to normal. The success of this kidney transplant marks an important milestone in the development of Cần Thơ Central General Hospital. With this surgery, Cần Thơ Central General Hospital has become the 26th hospital in Vietnam capable of performing kidney transplants. The State Committee for Overseas Vietnamese Affairs under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in collaboration with the Navy Command recently organized a delegation of Vietnamese people living abroad to visit and encourage officers, soldiers, and people in Trường Sa District and Platform DK-114. This trip was held on the occasion of the 49th anniversary of the liberation of the Trường Sa Archipelago and the 69th anniversary of the establishment of the Vietnam People's Navy. More in the following.
nearly 70 overseas Vietnamese from 22 countries beamed with honor and pride as they set foot on their sacred homeland. Despite having experienced the war fires, photographer Nick Wood couldn't help but get emotional at the sight of his homeland.
Trường Sa has changed a lot since then. I had been to Trường Sa 52 years ago. I am very happy to see the children here have schools, the soldiers have everything they need and are less lonely.
After visiting officers and soldiers, the overseas Vietnamese were increasingly impressed by the courageous spirit that helped the military forces and locals overcome all hardships.
I hope to be an ambassador, raising awareness of how difficult life is here and encouraging everyone to support the soldiers so they can protect the country's sky and sea.
This visit was an opportunity for Vietnamese people living overseas to meet and establish bonds with people, officers and soldiers within the country.
Over the past 20 years, the implementation of Resolution 36 has seen clear achievements. More contributions are seen from Vietnamese people from overseas. The party and state have also been more attentive towards overseas Vietnamese. The country's position has been enhanced.
Overseas Vietnamese have mobilized resources to improve construction works at different island points, contributing to the unit's strength in their mission of protecting the country's sovereignty over seas and islands.
The Trường Sa Sea journey, bringing overseas Vietnamese to visit the country's sea and islands, began in 2012. This year marks the 11th journey. The program has become an eagerly anticipated activity by the overseas Vietnamese community.
The city of Hải Phòng will hold the 11th Red Flamboyant Flower Festival, a signature event for the city's tourism brand, this weekend. This year's festival also celebrates the 69th anniversary of City Liberation Day and the one-year celebration of UNESCO's recognition of Hạ Long Bay Cát Bà Archipelago as a World Natural Heritage Site. The festival will be held on the largest scale ever this year.
As May arrives, thousands of flamboyant trees paint Haiphong City in a vivid red color. The city also becomes bustling with numerous activities during the Red Flamboyant Flower Festival.
I can't wait for the annual festival to arrive. Everyone comes to enjoy many joyful activities.
We're very excited about this festival. It gives us a sense of pride in our city.
The night art program, titled Haiphong, Brightening the Heritage Area, is the highlight of the festival. The event offers a highly artistic space using virtual reality technology and 3D mapping. Nearly 1,000 artists and actors will perform at the Political Administrative Center Square in North Cam River, a space that boasts a capacity of up to 18,000 people.
We will present a lighting performance that utilizes laser mapping to connect the entire building. This festival aims to elevate the city's status as a centrally managed entity and further its vision.
This event will provide spectators with an impressive stage. It is the result of the diligence of crews and the utilization of advanced technology. We expect this will be a treat for the city's citizens and tourists attending this year's festival.
Additionally, 26 events and 78 activities will take place throughout the city on this occasion, aimed at promoting the value of the World Natural Heritage, Hạ Long Bay Cát Bà Archipelago, and other regional heritage. The festival is expected to help attract 9.1 million visitors to Haiphong this year.
Coming up next in our world news, U.S. pauses Israel weapons shipment. And Brazil flooding death toll surpasses 100. U.S. President Joe Biden decided to withhold delivery of high-payload munitions to Israel, according to the country's Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on Wednesday. The decision came as Washington believes a possible Israeli offensive in the Gaza city of Rafah could put civilians at risk. According to the U.S. Defense Secretary, the United States had been clear from the very beginning that Israel shouldn't launch a major attack into Rafah without accounting for and protecting the civilians in that battle space. At least 100 people have died and nearly 100,000 homes have been destroyed or significantly damaged due to more than a week of record rainfall and flooding in southern Brazil's Rio Grande do Sul state. As many as 414 of the 497 towns in the state have suffered from the storms and declared emergencies. According to the Brazilian Confederation of Municipalities, overflowing rivers and floods have affected around 1.45 million people and forced approximately 200,000 residents to flee their homes. The water level of the Guaíba River, which flows through the city of Porto Alegre, has reached a record level, with 5 dams at risk of failure. Some 15,000 soldiers, firefighters, police, and volunteers are working hard to rescue those trapped and transport aid. However, heavy rain in Porto Alegre has hindered rescue efforts. Rescue boats had to temporarily stop operating due to the risk of lightning strikes and strong winds. South Korea's health ministry announced on Wednesday that it would permit those with foreign medical licenses to practice medicine in the event that the government declares a top-level medical service warning. The revision to the enforcement regulations of the Medical Act comes as the country is experiencing significant medical service disruptions due to the months-long walkout by trainee doctors. They are protesting the government's plan to increase the number of medical students by 2,000 starting next year from the current 3,058. Following the junior doctors' walkout that began on February the 20th, the South Korean government raised the national medical disaster alert to the highest serious level and activated an emergency response mode. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of VTV News. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store, Google Play, or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4Go. Goodbye for now.